See the U.S. Capitol right there now, where senators will be back in session after a break for Yom Kippur. They'll be reconvening for a vote on the spending bill. The big hangup is still over health care subsidies that Democrats want to extend. Now, hundreds of thousands of federal workers have already been furloughed, but mass firings could begin as soon as today. President Trump also announced on Thursday that he would be meeting with his budget director to consider which, quote, Democrat agencies would be cut. And while millions of Americans are still feeling the effects of this shutdown in real time, lawmakers from all sides, or both sides, are digging in, pointing fingers, and positioning for political advantage. Let's break this down and find out what's really all the infighting is, what it's all about, and what this could mean and how long these standoffs could last. Here joining us now is Zachary Peskowitz. He's the professor of political economics over at Emory University. Thanks for joining us so much today, Zach.
Thank you for having me.
All right, at its core, what is really driving the shutdown?
Yeah, so with all these shutdowns are kind of trying to achieve policy objectives by letting funding lapse and try to force your opponent to compromise on policy through the pain of a government shutdown, trying to get them to change their positions. And this one in particular is about these expanded, enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year.
Do you think shutdowns like this would change the long-term balance between power of Congress and the White House?
So, we don't know at this point. I think it'll be very important to see really next week, once we start getting some public opinion polling data on who voters are blaming for the shutdown, how uncomfortable are they with it, and whether that gets one side to compromise and change their positions.
All right. Are we seeing a return to a kind of brinkmanship that defines Washington a decade ago, or has this become something different under today's new leadership?
Yeah, so we've had these shutdowns periodically, really since the 1990s. So they happen when there are profound policy disputes between some members of Congress and the president. So we had it in the Clinton administration with Newt Gingrich and Republican majorities in the House. We had it in the first Trump administration between Trump and Democrats in the House and the Senate. And this time we're having it between Trump and the Democrats, particularly in the Senate, who would be necessary to break the filibuster and pass spending legislation to fund the government.
Yeah. Let's look at the parties for a minute here. For the Republicans, how much of this is a standoff is about internal power struggles between fiscal conservatives and pragmatic voices?
Yes. So, I think Democrats see a potential opportunity here that there might be some division within the Republican Party on these enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies. So, you have kind of traditional fiscal conservatives who want to keep spending down and don't want to spend this money to expand subsidies. And then you have kind of more populist Republicans who are more supportive of the welfare state and expanded social welfare spending. People like Josh Hawley from Missouri, J.D. Vance to some extent, and then Trump to some extent. So I think Democrats potentially see this opportunity to drive a wedge between the Republican coalition, and we'll see if that happens in the next few days.
So more on the Democratic side, how much of this do you see as a fracture forming of how far to push back, especially with the subsidies at front and center?
Yeah, it's great question. So, there are a lot of progressive, more liberal Democrats in March earlier this year who really wanted the Democrats to shut down the government when there was a similar funding was about to end similarly. And now the House and Senate leadership has gone down this path to try and use a shutdown to secure these enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies.
Do you think there's a risk of frequent, we keep having these frequent shutdowns, that it normalizes this kind of crisis amongst politics?
Yeah, so they do happen when there's divided government, or where there's at least not enough of the president's party in the Senate to pass spending legislation because of the filibuster. So they don't happen all the time, but they are happening periodically every 5-10 years or so, and they can be quite disruptive. So hundreds of thousands of workers furloughed, and then some important government services not happening. So we'll see how the public reacts in the next few days, and that's going to be really key to understanding this going forward.
Yep. For everyday watching Americans, right, seeing this unfold, what's a lesson about how politics now function or doesn't in Washington?
Yeah, so there is profound polarization between the Democratic and Republican parties in the executive branch and in Congress, and we have some supermajoritarian rules. So you need a lot of you need 60 votes to break a filibuster in the Senate, and a lot of policy issues you need agreement between the president and Congress. So when you have those polarization and those kinds of rules, then this can happen, and you don't. It's the government is unable to secure funding and continue operating.
Yeah, Professor Peskowitz, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate your insight on this matter. Have a great day.
Thank you.